everyone, welcome to the mid-year freakout book tag. I am very excited to do this tag because I've never done it before. I have some recommendations and some anti-recs for you. Well, technically just one, but it's a very, very strong anti-rec. So grab your favorite drink and let's get into the video. Number 1, what is your favorite book so far of 2024? Mine is Chlorine by Jade Song. This is a body horror literary fiction about a woman, well, a teenage girl who wants to become a mermaid, and she will go through any lengths to become a mermaid. And it was so gross at one point I was like looking through my fingers, like looking because I didn't want to see what was on the page, but I mean, it's a book, you can't just not read it or you won't know what's going on. So I was really grossed out by it, but most of it's not gross. Most of it is like just the horrors of being like a teenage girl, not really scary or body horror, but some of it is. It does get a little gross at some points, but that's more towards the end. Check the content warnings because with body horror there is some bad stuff in it. That could be a content warning for you. So be sure to look that up. Another one of mine is Say You'll Be Mine by Nina Kamar. This is the cutest romance I've ever seen, well, I've ever read, and it follows a woman who gets invited to be her ex's best man at his wedding, and on the other hand there's a guy who wants to get his parents off of his back, so there's some fake dating there. And it's so cute, and fake dating is my favorite romance trope, so of course this one was a 5-star. Just basically, like, it was just so good. And it also has like speckles of Indian culture in it because the characters are Indian, and it is very nice to be immersed into that culture also. Number 2, best sequel of the year. Mine was Fins Volume 6 by C.S. Pacat. I don't know how you pronounce it. But this follows an all-male fencing team who is going to try to win the state championships for their fencing team, and it is very queer and very good. Goodreads says it's a good story for fans of Heartstopper, and I definitely agree with that because it follows like in Heartstopper you have the rugby, and this one's like fencing. It doesn't follow a main couple, but there are like everyone on the team is like queer. I don't know why, but that's how it is. But it follows like different, like, it's a very slow burn, I think. Like, it's on volume 6 and the people I want to get together aren't even getting together. I don't even know if they're gonna get together, but I hope they do. So yeah, so very slow burn so far. I think it might not be a slow burn, they could just be friends, but I'm not sure yet. Number 3, a book you haven't read but want to get to. Mine is Lone Player by Julia Rosemary Turk. She is an indie author and she markets very well on Instagram. Like, it's amazing. Like, her marketing is what made me want to pick up her books. And this is a YA fantasy / sci-fi dystopian. I'm pretty sure that's what Goodreads said. And it's following like these teenagers with cards, and like your cards choose something, but I'm not really sure like what it's about. I haven't really looked into it. I'm very excited for this book, and the second book in the series came out like a couple weeks ago. Yeah, like a week ago. So I think this will be a trilogy, I'm pretty sure. But this looks so pretty. Like, here's the front, and the hardcover is this pretty black. And I won this in a giveaway, and then I pre-ordered her ebook for the second book, even though I haven't read this one, but I want to support her because she's great. Number 4 is most anticipated release. I have 2 actually, and the first one is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. And I've never read Macbeth. I have it, but I haven't read it. And I've never read anything by Ava Reid, but I'm very excited for this book just because I love Shakespeare and I've heard really good things about Ava Reid. And I have to read Macbeth before I read Lady Macbeth because I kind of want to get the references, you know. So, but that's one that I'm really excited for, which doesn't make sense why I'm excited for it, but I am. And the second one is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune, which is also following the trend of not reading what the book is about, because I have not read The House in the Cerulean Sea, but I have been hyped for it for about a year and more, because I went to his meetup for In the Lives of Puppets, and a woman asked like, hey, my students want to know like what the people are grown up, like the characters are grown up. And he was like, looked at it to his like whoever like he was there with him, and she's like, don't talk about it. So I knew it was coming out before it was even released, so I've been hyped for it for a very long time. And yeah, even though I haven't read it, I'm still really excited for the sequel. Number 5, biggest disappointment. Mine was Bridge to Terabithia. I am so upset by this one, actually. Like, I cannot even begin to describe how upset I was that I despised this book. I mean, viscerally hated this book. This is misogynistic, homophobic, encourages bullying, and the characters are so one-dimensional. And they go to Terabithia. Like, if you've ever watched the movie, it was so magical. Like, I grew up watching this movie, and it was the most magical movie I've ever seen. But the thing is that they went to Terabithia like twice, and they're just like hiding in this hut, and nothing even happens. Like, they're like, oh, we're fighting these monsters, and then they go back home. Like, there was no magic to it. There was nothing. And like, they encourage bullying in this book. It's like the main character is so misogynistic. He is like, it is just one of the worst books I've ever read. Like, no kids should read this book. I didn't even want to read this book. Well, I did, but I wish I could unread it because it was so bad, and I wish my hopes were not let down so much. And it was just the saddest thing because the movie was so magical. Like, you had like all these wonderful like beings, and you could see them, and I thought like, oh, maybe the book's gonna have like some magical element to it, or like they're gonna play pretend, and it's really gonna go into depth about like how they're playing pretend. No, it's like, oh, we fought this monster and we fought it, so now it's time to go back home for dinner. Like, this was the worst written book I have ever read, and I've read some pretty bad books. This was a 1.5 star only because it made me cry in the end, is why it's above a 1. Because the ending was kind of sad, and with the grief aspect, it did do the grief aspect pretty well. But then in the very end, like after he's like, or after like the characters are grieving, again, misogynistic again. Like, the women characters are there to, besides the main woman character, are there to clean and cook. Like, the sisters, his sisters have no anything in it. Like, they're just like, oh, let's go shopping and we are gonna be pretty for school. And like I said, so one-dimensional. It was just the worst thing I've ever read. And people love this. I don't know how. Like, there wasn't a story. It was like watching a reality TV show about some average Joe that just goes to work or like goes to school, then goes to the woods, then comes home and eats dinner and is mean to his sisters and doesn't respect his mom. It's just, it was so bad. I'm sorry, it was so bad. Now for a more upbeat thing. Number 6 is Biggest Surprise. Mine was Hide by Kirsten White. I've only heard bad things about this book before I read it, but the premise sounded really good, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll like it. Well, I gave it 3.5 stars, which isn't like amazing, but for me, 3 stars is like, it's a basic book. I enjoyed it, but nothing spoke out to me. It was very average. It was okay. I enjoyed it, but nothing was special about it. It was just an indecently enjoyable read. But the ending of it really brought it up to a 0.5. I'm actually thinking about bringing it up to a 4 or a 3.75 because I did really enjoy the ending. It was very unique, actually. It was pretty unique by what I've read. I haven't read a lot of horror, but this one was pretty unique in my opinion. The only reason I picked it up was for Randomathon, which is held by a wonderful YouTuber, The Bright Side Girl. I will link her below, so check her out. She does readathons all throughout the years, and they're always amazing and very specific. It's really great. Number 7 is Fave New to You Author. I've only read one book by this author, but I think she is now a new favorite because most of her books are pretty, like, follow a pretty similar style. It just makes sense to, like, I would like all of her books because she markets her books as like pretty similar. And it is called, her book was called My Lucky Charm. It's by Courtney Walsh. She's my new favorite author. new favorite romance author. It's a hockey romance and like a hockey romance series about these sisters, and the first one is called My Phony Valentine, but I didn't know that there was a series, so I just picked up My Lucky Charm because it was around St. Patrick's Day, and it's around St. Patrick's Day. It follows, it's like in Chicago with like the Green River. I didn't know that happened, but I found it out in the book. It's really good. Like, there's no spies, there are no super dark scenes, there's conflict, but there's not any like really dark topics in it, because she doesn't like to cover that, because she really likes the super fluffy romances, because you don't want heavy stuff in your romances all the time. But the good thing about it is like there's no spice, so if you want like a really chill romance, like they're really good to read. They're wonderful. And there's one that she just came out with that is really popular called The Summer of Yes, and I haven't picked it up, but I definitely will. Number 9 is What Book Made You Cry? Mine is The Beautiful Lost by Luann Rice. My mom recommended me this book. She read it and then gave it to me after she read it, and I really enjoyed this one, so thanks. It did make me cry in the end. It wasn't necessarily sad, but it was emotional. And this is about a teen girl who has depression, and she runs away from home in search for her real mom, because she lives with her dad and stepmom, in search of her real mom, who she has been talking through with letters, like physical snail mail letters, because she lives off the grid. So in Canada, and she lives in the US, like up north, so it's not that far away. It's just like, it wasn't that far away. But she runs away with her crush. It unfolds a lot of secrets, and it's very nice. It's a very good book. I really enjoyed it. Number 10, What Book Made You Happy? Mine is A Man and His Cat Volume 10. I've read all the other ones before, but this is the one I've read this year, because this is the new one that came out. And I love this manga series so much. Like, it's my favorite manga series. It's about this older man, he's like middle-aged, and he adopts a cat. And the reason he adopts the cat is because his wife, who recently passed, they were thinking about getting a cat, but she passed before they could get a cat, so he adopts one because he's also lonely. And it follows him and his grief, and he's also a musician, so it follows the cat, the grief, and the music, and it's just a top tier manga, honestly. There's just so much to do with it, and like, here, let me show you. Here are some characters in it. It's just so cute. This is a little spoiler, but not really, because I mean, they go by so fast. It's just, you know what's gonna happen. Like, it's a feel-good manga. Everyone's friends, everyone gets along. It's just amazing. Number 11 is Most Beautiful Book You Bought This Year. And I don't buy special editions really often. I don't really have any beautiful special editions, but the cover that caught my eye the most was probably Brutes by Diz Tate. This is just such a beautiful cover. I think the water and her hair, I think that's a girl. That could be a guy. It's about women, so I think it's a girl. And it just looks so amazing. Like, look at that. Like, the water is so beautiful. I just think it looks amazing. That was the most beautiful book I bought this year. Number 12 is Fave Book to Movie Adaptation. I have not read anything that has been turned into a movie this year, but I did read something that was turned into a TV show, and it was really amazing. It was an amazing TV show. It was The Spider-Bit Chronicles. It's on the Roku channel, so if you have it, if you have the Roku channel, please watch it if you like The Spider-Bit Chronicles, because I need a second season. I'm pretty sure they're already going to do a second season though, because this was the most successful show that they've ever put out on a Roku channel. So probably going to get a second season, but it left on such a nice, such a cliffhanger, and it's just like every piece of media that the Spider-Bit Chronicles has. There are the books, there is the movie, and then there's the TV show. They're all not totally different, but they're all different in their own way. Like, it follows this main like story, but there's something different with each piece of media that has covered the Spider-Bit Chronicles. There was this one part in the book that made me gag. I'm sorry, it was so gross. I couldn't handle it. And like, I felt nauseous at the point. I didn't really gag, but I felt very nauseous by what happened. But the TV show is more, it's spookier. It's like more on the spooky side, like horror side. It's not horror, but it's like spooky. And the movie is very whimsical and magical and stuff. The movie is still my favorite, but the TV show is still really good, especially if you like spooky things. And last but not least, number 13, which is books you need to read by the end of the year. I've been looking at my computer screen the whole time to know what I'm trying to say, so that's why I keep looking over. But mine is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I've had this on my physical TBR for over 10 years. I got this when I was in like a freshman in high school, so like 13, no, about 10 years, yeah. I think it's time to read these. I've had this edition for over 10 years. That's why it looks so crappy, because my cat's got a hold of it and who knows what's been spilled on it. I've had this since I was a very young teenager. So I've started I've started Fellowship of the Rings. I don't remember which one it is. But I've gotten pretty far. I'm like 60% of the way into the first book, but I still have 40% to go, and plus the other 2 books to go. I have about 3 hours left in the first book based off what my Kindle says, because I'm reading it on my Kindle because it's just easier than reading this super freaking small text and having my eyes hurt, so I can like make it bigger and read fewer words on a page, but it feels like I'm going really fast even though I'm not really. But it's just all mental games. But yeah, that's what I need to read, because I've had it on my TBR for too damn long. I need to read them. I've already read The Hobbit. I need to hurry up and read it. If you want to join along by even answering one or all of the questions in the comments, I'm leaving the questions in the description, so be sure to check those out and answer in the comments if you like. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!